thank you all for coming. We would like to welcome Robyn Gigl here today. Robyn has published 4 legal thrillers centering on New Jersey transgender attorney Erin McCabe. So today we'll be asking some questions in interview style, and afterwards there'll be some time for Q&A, and Robyn's books will be available to purchase. Maybe in the lobby. We will find out where soon.
Somewhere.
Yes. And Robyn can sign your books, which I got some books signed myself.
Same.
All right. So here we go. So thank you very much for coming out, Robyn.
No, thank you for having me. It's great to be here, and thank you to all of you for being here and for this amazing event that you put on. So I'm honored to be here.
Thank you.
We're very happy to have you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I apologize.
That's okay.
Okay, so how did you come up with the idea for Erin McCabe, and what did the process of moving her from creation to publication entail?
Okay, so, oh boy, that could take up the whole hour. So I had written a manuscript in 2000, and I started it in 2010, finished it in like 12, 13. And that manuscript got me an agent. But when the agent sent it out on submission, you can't fool around with it anymore. By the way, it never sold, thank God. So while that was out, I was doing some reading, and I reread To Kill a Mockingbird. And I know To Kill a Mockingbird, there's some controversy about it these days, but it had been a long time since I read it. And as I was reading it, I was fascinated by the fact I wanted to know what was going through Tom Robinson's head. Because Tom, a black man in the South in the 30s, accused of sexual assault on a white woman, he had to know that there was no chance. But the entire book is written from the point of view of Scout, who is like 7, 8, 9 years old. And so you never get into Tom's head. And so I was like, oh, wouldn't it be interesting to write a book with a character where you're in that perspective? So the first character that I actually came up with for what became By Way of Sorrow was 𝐿 Barnes. 𝐿 is the 19-year-old transgender sex worker, black woman, who is accused of the murder in the case. And then, so I was thinking about it from 𝐿's point of view, and then I quickly realized I can't write this from 𝐿's point of view. That's not my lived experience. It's not appropriate for me to write from that character's point of view the entire book. So I need a character that I can focus on, that I can speak through. And so that's how Erin came about. I mean, they tell you write what you know. I am a transgender woman. I am an attorney. I have practiced a lot of criminal defense in my day. So that's how Erin was born. And I decided, I didn't want Erin to be me. So Erin is young, Erin is attractive, Erin is bisexual. I have none of the above. So Erin is not me, but it gives me the opportunity as a trans woman, as an attorney, to speak through Erin.
Wonderful. And actually, jumping off of that, how has your own lived experience informed your characterizations and plot lines, and did writing these novels allow you to explore any aspects of yourself that you maybe hadn't had a chance to previously?
So to answer the last part first, I don't think it allowed me to explore things about me that I didn't know, but it allowed me to explore things about different aspects of being transgender that maybe I didn't experience. And so, one of the things, as I mentioned, 𝐿, a character that I absolutely love, is decidedly not part of my lived experience. So you use what are called sensitivity readers to make sure that you're accurately and sympathetically and portraying that character in the way that you want them portrayed. So I got to experience other trans women's lives by talking to them, by using them as a platform to educate me as to their lived experiences. and I apologize, I kind of forget the first part of the question.
How has your own lived experience informed your
Sure.
characterizations and also possible plot lines?
So the plot lines, other than being a criminal defense attorney, the plots I totally make up. On purpose. I don't want them to be related to any case that I ever had. I don't want them to deal with any real people. I mean, there's a couple like real people that are the basis of characters. 𝐫𝐞𝐜𝐤, in all the acknowledgments, is an homage to my mom. There's a character in Survivor's Guilt that is based off of my brother-in-law, who was a homicide detective in a county prosecutor's office. But so the plot's totally different from anything that I've ever experienced as an attorney or as a trans woman. So, you know, have fun making it up. In terms of my own lived experience informing Erin, you know, there's certain things about Erin's life that are informed by my own lived experience. You know, issues with friends and families around transitioning, the way sometimes you're treated as a trans person, you know, in this country, even in this state, in this county, you know, were things that I had experienced and was able, again, to speak to Erin to, you know, kind of try to express to a reader who is not trans what that experience is like, and to humanize the experience in a way that even if you're not trans, you can be sympathetic to the character and recognize the humanness in the character.
So this is my, you know, favorite. You know this already now. So we know that Jersey, you know, it has it all: the mountains, the city, the beach. So how and where do you do your research? And is there a place that you like to write? Like, is there a local diner, a local place?
So that part's going to be real disappointing for you. I sit on my couch looking at the Atlantic Ocean, and that's where I write.
That's Jersey, you know.
So, you know, there's no. I don't sit in the Starbucks. I don't sit in a coffee shop. It's literally I sit on my couch, and that's where I write. I'm trying to think. By Way of Sorrow actually started before I moved to Bradley. So that was on a different couch and not looking at the Atlantic Ocean, looking at a parking lot. But, you know, I do all my writing at home. And you know, the Jersey thing, again, you know, write what you know. Other than college and law school, I've lived in New Jersey my entire life. As a lawyer, I've traveled up and down the state. You know, I think I said to you folks when we were setting this up about, oh yeah, I've been in the Ocean County Courthouse plenty of times. You know, I know where the library is. Don't worry about it. And so, you know, I've experienced, you know, By Way of Sorrow is set in Ocean County. Survivor's Guilt is set in Union County. Erin, by the way, lives in Cranford. I am a local hero in Cranford, New Jersey. Let's see, Remain Silent is set in Cape May and Middlesex, and Nothing But the Truth is set in Middlesex. So I've lived in Middlesex. I've vacationed a lot down in Cape May County. Ocean County I'm familiar with from living in Monmouth and also from being in courthouses. And Union County, I grew up in Union County. So, you know, there's a lot of things I knew about New Jersey I didn't have to research. I've experienced it. I've lived here almost 73 years. And so, you know, it was fun playing with places that I knew people from New Jersey would recognize. And hopefully even people who don't live in New Jersey get a better understanding of the state. And that we're a pretty cool place.
Sure. Agreed.
Okay. What is your favorite storyline from the series? And is there any aspect or scene that you wanted to include in the books but weren't able to for any reason?
So it's funny. All four books, 3 of them have been reviewed by the New York Times. 2 were selected as best of by the New York Times. The one book that wasn't reviewed by the New York Times and received no critical acclaim whatsoever was Remain Silent. And that happens to be my favorite book. Go figure. I call it my angry book. I started writing Remain Silent. I'm going to lose track of dates, but probably in 21. There had been a lot going on in this country, and there still is a lot going on in this country about LGBTQ plus folks, and in particular about the trans community. And I was really angry and upset about what was going on. And so it was, it's my most trans-focused book. There's any number of trans characters in that book. There's a non-binary character in that book. And I wanted to kind of, again, it's a legal thriller, so it's the minor subplot that runs through it, but it's a little bit of the history of trans folks in this country and in this state, because you have characters who, at that point in the book, are in their 60s, and so they have a different lived experience than Erin does. You have Erin. You have the non-binary character who's around the same age as Erin. And then you have a young trans girl who's 11 years old. And so, I was trying to, through that book, explore the arc of the trans community through various voices. So I was angry, I was upset, I wanted it to be the most personal. There's a scene in there that, again, is loosely based on my life in terms of my father passing away. My father passed away before I came out. But the angst and the guilt and the shame that Erin has is something that's always been part of my life. And so, it's something that came out and very personal, very cathartic in a way. And so Remain Silent is the one that I identify the most with.
So obviously you focus on representation of many various identities and their intersectionalities throughout the series. Have you had any response from readers who maybe haven't always gotten to see themselves represented in media, but were able to through your books?
I don't read all the reviews on Goodreads, and I don't read any of the reviews on Amazon. Don't go to Amazon unless I have to. But so it's hard to get feedback from readers. Occasionally, I'll get an email on my author email thing, and it's always rewarding when you get something from somebody. In particular, from somebody who's not trans, who says, I didn't know anything about these issues, but thank you, because now I have a better understanding of what this is about. And that certainly was one of my goals. I mean, these books were written as legal thrillers for anyone who enjoys a legal thriller. It wasn't written necessarily for the LGBTQ plus community. It was written for straight cisgender folks who, like legal thrillers, and all of a sudden they're introduced to a character that they never expected that they were going to enjoy reading about. So I think probably the most impactful email, and it became a series of emails that I had, was with the mom of a trans woman who wrote me after, I think it was Survivor's Guilt, and said, not all trans stories have happy endings. And she went on to say that she had a trans daughter who had, died by suicide. And we began a email conversation back and forth, and she had some issues in terms of she didn't understand how her daughter was outed and things like that. And I explained how in that particular case, based on what she told me, how it happened in terms of a credit report. And we carried on this conversation and, went on for several months. And at the end, she was, thank you for helping me to understand. And it meant a lot to me to be able to help somebody who was struggling with their daughter's death, and know that, at least in some small way, my writing had helped one person.
So you might have answered this a little bit in the last question, but what do you hope readers will take away from your books?
I hope they'll take away that they're a good legal thriller. I hope they'll take away that trans folks are just humans trying to live our best lives. I hope they'll take away that, we're ordinary people struggling with the same things that everybody else struggles with, jobs, families, careers, relationships. There's nothing different about trans folks. And so, and then again, I hope they're entertained, and at the end of the day they go, wow, this was a good book. So that's what I hope.
Do you have any favorite authors or books?
Do I have any favorite authors? Oh boy, you didn't prepare me for this one. Of course I do. How could I not have favorite authors? One of my favorites of late is Tana French, and I don't know if anybody is a Tana French fan here. And number one, all her books are set in Ireland. I'm half Irish. I only acknowledge that half. The other half is German. And I have fallen in love with Tana's audiobooks because they're all read by somebody who's doing an Irish accent. And the other reason I love Tana is that there's somebody who curses more in their books than I do. But again, and Tana's American. She moved to Dublin, I think, when she was in her early 20s and has stayed there. And so it's all Ireland all the time. So I love Tana. There's a number of, LGBTQ authors that I love who write in the crime mystery genre. And I don't always just read crime mystery stuff, but, to an LGBTQ plus audience, there's a queer writers group that, has any number of great writers. 𝐥𝐢𝐯𝐞 writes historical fiction involving, he's a gay man, but he writes about a lesbian couple. There's Ann Apter, who has a whole series of books. Cheryl Head, who has a series, the Charlie Mack Motown series, with a black lesbian private investigator. Rob Osler has historical and kind of humorous. I read Margaret Duatney, who has like the best character in the world. She is a chain-smoking lesbian nun who solves crime. So Margot is like amazing. So, those are people that I read because, number one, I love their work. They're queer crime writers. As I said, Tana French, Krista Hanna, in terms of the women, I love that book. I bought it originally on audio and then had to go out and get a hard copy because I loved it so much. Lessons in Chemistry, there's I'm drawing a blank on the name of the book. Hell of a Book by again, gonna draw a blank on it, but somebody Google Hell of a Book, and that is an amazing book. So.
Thank you for adding a bunch of stuff to my TBR.
Same here, very much so. All right, and then what kind of advice do you have for future authors?
Have a thick skin, be determined, don't give up. And so I had a dream of writing a book when I graduated law school, which would have been 1977, right? My first book was published in 2021. It's been a long journey for me. So now, it's not like I was writing that whole time. I started a manuscript shortly after I graduated law school, but then I was a young attorney, working crazy hours, 3 kids, life interfered, and so, there's a manuscript written in longhand on yellow legal pads that sits in a briefcase in my closet to this day. It's called my briefcase manuscript. That was never finished, but I started writing again in 2010 on the encouragement of one of my sons, who is also a published author, my son Colin. The Ferryman Institute, much better book than mine. Magical realism, totally different genre. Colin got me writing again. My kids all knew that, I was a frustrated writer. And so Colin introduced me to NaNoWriMo. I'm not sure if people are familiar with NaNoWriMo. In 2010, Colin completed and finished his 50,000 words in November. I did not, but it got me writing again. And as I said, I have a manuscript that wasn't published. The process has changed a little bit since I was looking for an agent in 2012. But I queried 125 agents before someone came back to me and said, send me your manuscript. She read it. She came back to me and said, I'm not going to take you on as a client now, but if you redo it, I'll reread it. I redid it, sent it to her. She said, I'm still not going to take you on as a client. It's closer. Redo it again. And I did. And that's how I got my agent. And so, again, I finished the manuscript. It went out on submission. It never sold. So while that one was out on submission, that's when I started By Way of Sorrow. I wrote about 50 pages of By Way of Sorrow and sent it to my agent and said, Carrie, what do you think? And I called her Carrie because that's her name. I said, Carrie, what do you think? And she was like, I'm going to stop trying to sell the other one. Finish this. This is going to sell. And she was right. So, it's not for the faint of heart. You can't look at the rejections that you get from agents or when your book is out on submission as failure. If you look at it as a failure, you're going to stop. You're not going to keep going. You have to look at it as a learning experience. Everything in this process for me was a learning experience on how to be a better writer. I have a book that is hopefully going to be published in August of 26 with a new publisher. I have rewritten that book since they acquired it 3 times. And I'm expecting to get the line edits back from my editor this coming week. So it's about understanding that, when people are saying this isn't right for this reason or that reason, maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong, but listen to it and see if there's something there, because it will help you to become a better writer. And don't give up. If I am an example of anything, it's that it can be done. I don't have an MFA. I don't consider myself a wordsmith. I am not a great writer. I am a storyteller. And if you have a story to tell, you can do it too.
So my question was, is there anything you're currently working on that you'd like to talk about?
So I said to somebody earlier today, I've decided to piss everybody off with my next book, and I hope I can use that word. I realize we're being recorded. Upset everyone with my next book. I decided to change pace a little bit. Number one, I'm sorry, Diana, it's not set in New Jersey. It's set in an unknown red state, and it features a transgender, go figure how I keep coming up with those characters, detective in a district attorney's office. So it's a law enforcement person. So most of the community be upset with me that I'm writing about a law enforcement person in the community. Other people will be upset with me because it's about a transgender detective. But it's it's being published by Soho. It's something totally different. All 4 of these books are written in a third-person point of view. So you're outside. You can switch points of view. You can be in Erin's. You can be in her law partner, Dwayne Swisher. I love to be in Dwayne's head. You can be in the bad guy's head. Love being in the bad guy's head. This book, the one that Soho is going to publish, is a first-person point of view. So you're entirely in Lauren Kelly's head the entire time period. I found it a lot harder to write that way because you can't know anything other than what Lauren knows, whereas in these you can kind of, there might be things that Erin doesn't know that other people do know. You can't do that when you're in a first-person point of view. But I'm really excited about it. As I said, I have a new publisher, new editor. She has put me through my paces, as I explained. I've rewritten it 3 times since they bought it. And it still has a way to go through the editing process. But again, to the writing process, what my editor has had me do, and it's not like she rewrites it, she'll just say, I think you need to do this more. I think you're not in Lauren's head enough. I think I need to know how Lauren's feeling about this. Those kinds of things. It has made it a much better book. An editor who knows what they're doing can help a writer immensely. And again, you can't have an ego as a writer. You have to be able to sit there and go, she sent me 10 pages of notes. She doesn't like my book. And go, no, these are good ideas. What she's saying, if I do that, it's gonna work better. So that's, again, it was supposed to be June, pushed it back to August, August of 26. And so, fingers crossed, the world will get to know Lauren Kelly in August of 26.
Is there a title for that? Do you have
Yes,
a title?
All We Hide.
All We Hide. Okay. So those are the questions we had scripted, like ready to go. So we want to really thank you so much. This is really great.